Hey there, it's Rob Ryder, and it's Sunday, March 14th, 2021. And we're going to talk about veterans rule the nation. And this is part two about CVSOs, which are County Veteran Service Officers. And in some places, there's actually County Departments of Veterans Affairs that has County Veteran Service Officers. Maybe not every state has this, but there's quite a few, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on today. And so, hey, if you're a veteran, really pay attention to what I'm going to show you now, because I don't think that you've seen most of these things, and we as veterans need to actively pursue making sure that all of our privileges are given to us, because these county veteran service officers are officers of the government of the county that work for veterans. And as it turns out, it just isn't veterans. Service members, dependents, survivors, they're supposed to work for everybody. And so I'm going to show you these little bits of evidence and so forth. That's part of what I do. And, that I had contacted mine through the County Department of Veterans Affairs, and had them send me some paperwork that upon getting it was, full of errors or omissions. And I'm not blaming the county veteran service officer. I mean, he's probably following the standard operating procedure. But I say, well, there's an error on the standard operating procedure because of the way that you filled out my forms. And we need to make him do it by the book. See, this is the point. We have the book. In the military, everything is written down. There is a proper way to do everything. And if you can go to the book and find it and show somebody, well, this is what the book says, then that's what they have to do. Otherwise, they're in violation of a direct order. It's in the book. And so there's no reason for any errors in an administrative capacity, right? Everything should be done properly. And if it isn't, there should be a way for you to have it corrected. So I want to show you quite a few things here today. So you might want to get a piece of paper and a pen and write them down, or watch the video again to get them afterwards. But if you're a veteran, and especially if you're a CVSO or a veteran service officer, and you have any questions, contact me at courtofrecord@aol.com. Right, COURTOFRECORD@aol.com, and I will answer your questions to the best of my ability. But what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to show that that we have, as veterans, we have a lot of authority in this military government that exists now, but it's not being used because there's nobody recognized in the United States. Right? We're in the United States of America, and it was done by a trick, and this is all of what this is all these words mean something. And I pointed it out time and time again in videos other than this, so I'm not going to do it again. But if you hear me say something you've never heard before, then I can prove everything I say, right? I can show you where it comes from. There's very few things that I have to jump and make some kind of connection that isn't there to be made, right? Because I like to do things by the book. That's what this is. This is being done by the book. So give me just a second here, and we'll get started. And let's start with what they sent me, and what should have been there. How about we do that? When I say they, I'm talking about Kent County Veterans Service Officer. Okay, hang on. Yeah, before we get to the documents, let's just start here, right? Kent County Veterans Services. This is the place I'm talking about. And they have a staff button, so let's go take a look. All right, you got a staff of people. I don't see any Esquires in that group. They all look like they're veterans to me. Right, or could have been veterans. And I also recognize, they're all standing in front of a gold fringed flag. And they all have a shirt with a freaking county emblem on it, right? So these are county employees standing in front of a gold fringed flag. And the gold fringed flag is the same, that flag can only be displayed in military installations, military offices. It's all covered by Army Regulation 840-10. 840-10, Chapter 2, Section 3. I'll be showing it here in just a little bit. But, now, you see these people standing with a flag behind them. That's the same thing a judge has. Right? So there's something to be said about these aren't people in a private organization. These are people in a military government. We've been under martial law since 1861. President Lincoln declared martial law. Lieber Code was written. The Lieber Code has in it in Article 2. We'll just go ahead and take a look right now. We got it right here, right? Instructions for the government of armies of the United States in the field. General Order number 100, Lieber Code. So this is an order to the military, to the Army, right? Keep that in mind. It's just not a piece of paper. This is an order. It says here that your order then is martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation, except by special proclamation ordered by the commander-in-chief or the special mention in a treaty of peace concluding the war, when the occupation of the place of territory continues beyond the conclusion of peace as one of the conditions of the same. So, Lincoln put the United States under martial law, and it's never been rescinded by a special proclamation or a treaty of peace. The Civil War ended in an armistice. Well, so did World War I as far as that goes. They say they did a treaty of peace, but if you look far enough, it was never ratified. So, so these conditions domestically and internationally that show that we're still under martial law exist. And the evidence of it is the gold fringe flag, which we'll get into more in just a second. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that we're under martial law. And these people are standing in front of a gold fringe flag. They got a county seal on. So this is the county government. And all these people are veterans. Right? Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. All right. Let's continue on. Yeah, just so I can check it off the list, say I talked about it, right? This is Army Regulation 840-10, flags, guidons, and so forth. And if you go down into Chapter 2, right, this talking about flags of the United States. Eventually you'll get down here to this section. National flags listed below are for indoor display and for use in ceremonies and parades. For this purpose, the flag of the United States will be a rayon banner cloth, a heavyweight nylon, trimmed on 3 sides, and gold and yellow fringe, 2 1/2 inches wide. Then it'll go on to say where these things can be displayed. Authorized for indoor display, right? So if it's not being used for a parade, it's used for indoor display, and these are the places that it's used for indoor display. Right? Offices, headquarters, organizations authorize a positional color, distinguishing flag, or organizational color. Well, that's somebody military. Organization of battalion size or larger, well, that's somebody military. Military offices, well, that's military. Military courtroom, well, that's military. U.S. Army, well, that's military. Right? Recruiting commands, yeah, that's military. ROTC, military. Senior Executive Service, SEC, well, okay, that's military. So that's the only place this flag can be displayed. Yet in every courtroom you walk into, there's a gold fringe flag. Right? So those must be military courtrooms. Now, another place that you see them is in churches. Right? Which apparently to the military is a chapel. And I've done all sorts of talk on why they have a gold fringe flag. These churches created civil organizations that were given a commission, much like a commissioned officer, from the War Department. Right? That's why they have gold fringe flags. But none of these other people will use that authority. It's like they've all been locked out, blocked out, whatever it is, and we're down to veterans, right? We're the last hope of the United States is that veterans will use their authority. Because you have a gold fringe flag from the military. So we could stop. Excuse me. We could stop right now and just, say if you're a county veteran service officer and you see the problems I'm about to show you, just stop and make a phone call. You say, sir, we got a problem. Because like the county VSO and so forth, right, that I was showing, it goes through the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, which is part of the Michigan Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, right, which is overseen by, guess what, the Adjutant General. So it's military, right? Call in the general. Tell him you need an audit. All right, hang on. Okay, veteran, take a note, right, that the first form you're going to fill out if you're going to use either a veteran service organization or a individual other than yourselves, right, to represent yourself with the VA, is going to be a form like this. It's either this one, which is a VA 21-22, or there's another one called a 21A-22A if you're not going to use a veteran service organization. But if you are and they're going to represent you, then this is what they're going to have you fill out, right? And it's pretty standard stuff. So that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted the county, the Kent County Department of Veterans Affairs to be my service organization. That was the whole reason for me deciding, yeah, I'll go ahead and do this. And, and then it says here that if you check this box, that I authorize any official representative of the organization named in item 15 to act on my behalf to change my address on my VA records. Okay, so who's ever in 15 then is going to be given authority to change your address. It's interesting, now looking at this. Why would they make that one distinction? They sure did, right? And, okay, well, this is what they sent me. So, I've gone through it and looked at it. And they want you to put veterans first name, middle initial, last name. Now, I had to do this, so because of COVID in Michigan, you can't meet anybody, right? So I was having an interview with somebody from the Kent County Veterans Services office over the phone, who after he got done sent me this document, right, and wanted my signature. And I didn't sign it. I sent it back and, told him this is wrong. I said a lot of things about it. And I'm going to save that for a different day just to see what they're going to do with it, right? But because, again, I'm not blaming him. He's just doing whatever it says in the book, right? But I'm not going to put up with the answers that were. Because, right here, it says right here, you got to put the county or country, right? So this should say United States after it, but it doesn't. Now, some people say, well, what's the big deal? And for me, it's all about the frickin' document, right? Everything in the federal government, especially the military, is done by a form, right? Up until you're actually, raising mayhem, right? Everything was done by paperwork. And they like the military keeps their paperwork squeaky clean. So they say, right? So if you point it out, then it's wrong. But this is the veterans information. And I'm looking at, so why is there anything in here in section 2? Right? If other than veteran. Well, there is nobody other than veteran. Yet it was filled out. Same as veteran. Right? Address is the same. It's all the same. Same as veteran. Same as veteran. Self. Well, what does self mean? And why am I listed in 2 if I'm already listed in 1? Now, I know the reason for this is, they have your name more than one way. They have your name. They wanted me to put Robert A. Rytlewski right here, right? Because that's one way they have my name. But Robert Allen Rytlewski is actually the person that has that entered the military. I don't have a middle initial, right? So when he first told me it was going to be Robert A., I said, well, no, I don't have a middle initial. I've been through this many times in different videos, right? It's Robert Allen. Don't let them give you a middle initial. That, middle name, then they can't give you a middle initial. So this is wrong. But then there was this. It's like, well, why is the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers listed as the organization I'm dealing with? This is wrong. And then this isn't even properly done because this entity, I mean, if they were using the right name, let's go to this other one again real quick. Go to the third page. Let's list all the people, right, that can recognize service organizations. And there it is, National Association of County Veterans Service Officers, comma, Inc. With a comma. Is that a comma at the end? Yeah, it sure is. Comma, Inc., right? Well, that isn't what's on here. So if we're going to be, what happened to that thing? We're going to be precise, and this is, incorrect. Has to have comma, Inc., comma. Or it's not the entity that's been recognized by the VA. And I didn't say it, they did. So again, this is us pointing out the errors in their records and telling them fix the frickin' record. Now, the nice guy I'm working with on this, I mean, when he first contacted me, he was using Kent County government email address. But on here, it says a Hotmail. Right? So he's not even doing it in his official capacity as a county veteran service officer. So you can see how this is wrong. And I'm sure that yours is wrong. If you've ever filled out a form like this to have, the American Legion, Disabled American Vets, any of those places that are listed that can do it, right? You're going to want to say, hey, I want to look at my paperwork to see how it's been filled out, right? Because this is a power of attorney. This is you appointing an agent and an attorney to represent you. It's really, really important it's done properly. And, right, it's the person named in 15 that we're talking about, which is, hey, that's the service organization recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So if you allow these errors to remain in your record, then you're not being represented by anybody who's been recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, because this isn't the proper name. Name of official representative acting on behalf of the organization named at 15, right? And it had the same guy's name that from the Kent County, but now he's saying he's representing this association. That's just wrong. So a form that goes along with this, right, is this VA Form 21, which has to do with the representative now, right, that before he could become a representative who could fill out Form 2122, he had to, be okayed on this form. And you can see they got a place right here for county veteran service officers. So, if they check that box, then that should be who's up here in 7A. That's who they're representing, right? This is all 7. So if you're a county veteran service officer, what should be in box 7A is the county department that you're representing, and that department has to have been acknowledged by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs as being a service officer agency. Right? Are you accredited with any other agencies? Yes or no? Well, it could be that they are, but that's not who they're representing. Right? That's 7A. So the guy down here in this section, in 16A, is who's supposed to have done this. And, I want the guy who checked this box. Right? Are you a paid county employee? Yes. Who works for the county, not less than 1,000. Oh, yeah, these are full-time guys who successfully completed VA approved. Yeah, I know he has because he's got the card from the VA saying he's approved. Who will receive regular state supervision and monitoring or annual training? Yes. Right? Through the state military veterans affairs agency. It's a freaking county officer. That's a beautiful thing. Okay. So anyways, this is what's wrong. So go find yours. I'm just saying, whoever you did this form with, if you've already done this and you did it with like the American Legion, then they have a copy of it. Just tell me you want to look at it and see what's in here. and make a copy if you would, especially if it's not what it should be, and send it to me. Right? Send it to my email address, quarterrecord@aol.com, please. And, let's get a little more data until we get it figured out. All right. Hang on again. So this is the act in Michigan that created these County Department of Veterans Affairs, which the County Veteran Service Officer is appointed by, right? But they actually create this department, and the County Board of Commissioners may create a County Department of Veterans Affairs. Department of Veterans Affairs shall be under the administration of a committee of 3 to 7 veterans. So there's a board that's over top of the county veteran service officers, which is an administrative board that's part of the county. Right? Members appointed to the committee shall be residents of the county who have served honorably on active duty in the United States Armed Forces. If any opening occurs, the county board shall provide notice. Okay, fill the frickin' void. Appointed for 4-year terms, right? So these are appointed officers; they're not elected. And it combines some other ones together that were. These are some other acts that had things to do with veterans. That if the county decided to go with the County Department of Veterans Affairs, well, then it all gets incorporated into it. And the committee shall select a chairman and a secretary. So those are the officers then of the board, right? And so really these are the people that we need to be talking to. I still haven't found mine yet, but I found who they are, but they make it really hard to talk to the committee itself. Now, this isn't the VA or the veterans doing this. These are the esquires that are, they have put these errors and omissions into records so that nobody has any freaking authority to do anything. And that's the way I want to keep it, right? So there's just some things they don't want to give any information to, which is, how about an email address to the chairman of this board? They don't have it. So a committee shall appoint veteran service officer. Well, that's the guy I want to talk to then, the one appointed by the committee. Right? And the selection of the veteran service officer, what's going to happen? County service funds going to get incorporated into this. And then the thing I want to get to is down here. That if they're going to do this, then they have to establish remote access to the United States Department of Veterans Affairs computing systems and required county veteran service officers to obtain a PIV. Well, if they have access to the United States Department of Affairs computing systems, then they have access to all the different record sets that have records to do with you that are in there by your Social Security number. Right? That's how they're all tied together. They're not tied together by name because they use various names for you. So the common denominator in these record sets are Social Security numbers. And I'm going to show you shortly, there's all sorts of record sets that have information that you want to look at to make sure that it's correct. And if it isn't, tell them it's not correct and have it corrected, because it's, you're privileged to do so. Right, PIV card means personal identification verification by United States Department of Veterans Affairs. So I want a guy with a PIV card who has access to the record sets by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and get my frickin' records. But what does it say? Veteran Service Operations means assistance in programming of any kind to meet the needs of veterans in the state. So not only to file a claim with the VA, of any kind. Right? It's a much broader term. It's like, that's anything that I need, right? Well, what does a veteran need? Well, a veteran is still bound by oath. So I need a way to, enforce my oath upon those who need it enforced on. So that's what I'm talking about. I should be able to go here, in other words, and fill out like an Army Swarm statement form and have them be the certifying officer, because a sworn statement has to be done by a certified officer. It cannot be done by just a notary public, right? They have to be a certified officer of the government. Well, that's what we're talking about now. It's a beautiful thing. But it goes on to say, veteran service operations include, but not limited to, providing assistance, programming, and services for the purpose of assisting veterans in this state, and providing advice, advocacy, and assistance to veterans, service members, dependents, or survivors by accredited veteran service officer to obtain United States Department of Veterans Affairs health, financial, or memorial benefits for which they are eligible. So that's, that's part of it. That's after the and that's for not just veterans, but service members, dependents, and survivors of anything that the United States Department of Veterans Affairs can provide under health, financial, or memorial benefits. But the first part, veteran service operations include, but not limited to, providing assistance, programming, and services for the purpose of assisting veterans in this state, period. Well, that's a whole different Ricky Lake show than just filling out a VA 2122 because I want to put a claim into the VA for, my VA benefits. I have other things I need them for. Okay. Hang on. Alrighty. In a minute, I'm going to talk about the benefit side of the VA stuff, so that's of interest, obviously, individually to veterans, and why it's so important that this stuff is done right to get those benefits correct. But it's also because of the things that we can do with the things that we see wrong, because all these places have gold fringed flags. So if you're in a courtroom and they're not following the law, you could file a complaint. Right? Or if somebody hasn't taken the proper oath of office and is claiming an office with a gold fringed flag, well, you could file a complaint. I mean, that's how we should be able to do it. But they have the system set up where there's no place to go to get any relief because nobody has an oath of office. Right? All these offices, if they were going to be an officer in the civil government under the Constitution, then they have to have taken an oath that satisfies the 6th article of the Constitution, which says an oath to support the Constitution. No religious test shall ever be required. Well, the very first law passed by the first Congress after the ratification of the Constitution is an act to establish time and manner of administering certain oaths. 1 Stat 23, right? Book 1, Statutes at Large, page 23. And it says in there that this is the oath that satisfies the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States. To wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States. Period. Well, that was later codified in the United States Code under 4 USC, United States Code, Section 101, for state officers. Right? So anybody who's claiming a office under the Constitution of your state would have had to take in this oath also, right? And that you can't use one and say, well, I did this one, I don't have to do the other one. No, it's really clear that federal government wants you to take this one particular oath all by itself, just the way it is. And then whatever your state wants you to do, well, that's a separate issue. So there's nobody from your governor down to the, down really to the board of the county that's taken a proper oath. The judges haven't, right? The governor hasn't. The Secretary of State hasn't. They're all just usurpers. Or they're, pretending to be the government while being in this private organization that's in the United States of America, which is really King George III's jurisdiction from the Treaty of Peace of 1783. Yada, yada, yada. Well, that's all their stuff. Well, what do we do about it? Well, here's the Army sworn statement form. All right, so I should be able to fill this out. And if you look at where it says it can be used, all right, hang on a second here. Yeah, information provided may be further disclosed to federal, state, local, foreign law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, courts, child protective services, victims, witnesses, Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Office of Personal Management. Right? So this would be your sworn statement that you could give to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Or to point out that there's something wrong in, whatever it is you're pointing out. So every place there's a gold fringed flag. Well, that's where Army officials can maintain discipline, right? That's where the flag is there. All right, hang on a second here. Yeah, it's called DA Form 2823. That's a 3-page form, and you get to the end. Now, this is where the affidavit is. And you've heard them talk about putting affidavits in for all these election fraud claims, right? But you never heard of anybody putting in a sworn statement. But a sworn statement has an affidavit in it, right? There it is. It's part of the sworn statement. But what you're filing is a sworn statement, not an affidavit. But this sworn statement has to be done by a commissioned officer of whatever the jurisdiction is you're talking about. And that's what a county veteran service officer is, or just any veteran service officer. They've been commissioned to do what they're doing. Right? So they have the authority to do this oath. And in fact, I'll show you in California where it shows right in there that they can do it. Right? So this isn't something that should be that difficult for a veteran service officer to wrap their head around. Brother, you can do this for me, and you can use this document as part of my claim then. So, hang on again. Yeah, under California legislation, information, what is this? Military and Veterans Code, the MVC, Veterans Aid and Welfare. Right, this is where it talks about the service officer. So I don't really want to talk about service officer again, but I do want to show. They have this thing called qualified former member, right? Any former member of the United States Armed Forces who is eligible under federal law to receive any veterans benefits from the United States Army of Veterans Affairs or any other agency of the federal government. Well, they also say veterans, right? So, hang on, yeah, right here. The county veteran service officer shall assist every veteran of any war of the United States and every qualified former member. Well, what's the difference? Right? There's two different groups. Every veteran of any war of the United States and every qualified former member, and the dependents of every deceased veteran and every qualified former member in presenting and pursuing a claim the veteran or qualified member may have against the United States. Now, I didn't just say the Department of Veterans Affairs. It said against the United States. So it's a big deal, right? This is a really, really powerful office. And down here, where did it have that? The county veteran service officer hath power to administer and certify oaths and affirmations, take and certify affidavits and acknowledgments, and exercise any other power of a notary public. Didn't say as a notary public, of a notary public, as part of his duties under the provisions of this chapter. Okay, well, I just showed that you can use the sworn statement form for the Department of Veterans Affairs, so that would fall into his list of things that he can do, he or she. And why is that important? Let's get to that right now. Okay, Vet, did you know that about unemployability, first of all, right? That's a one, when you're rated 100% disabled, or when you're rated unemployability, they pay you at the rate of being 100% disabled. Well, you don't have to be 100% disabled to get it, right? You just have to have applied for unemployability. So, most people already know that, and then you probably know that under 38 CFR 416 that the total disability rating for compensation based on unemployability of an individual. So we're not going to read this whole thing. Don't worry about it. Just a couple short parts. Total disability ratings for compensation may be assigned where the scheduled rating is less than total when the disabled person is, in the judgment of the rating agency, unable to secure or follow a substantially gainful occupation as a result of service-connected disabilities, provided that if there is only one such disability, that the disability shall be rated at 60% or more, and that if there are two or more disabilities, then there shall be at least one disability rated at 40% or more with sufficient additional disability to bring the combination rating to 70% or more. Right? So basically, if you have one for more than 60, that's high enough to claim disability under, it's written into the law. If it's 60% or more, then you can get unemployability. But I know a lot of people have been 60% or more to get unemployability, and they were denied, or they had their their rating dropped, or whatever the hell it was, right? Because that's what they're doing. Now it also says it is the established policy of the Department of Veterans Affairs that all veterans who are unable to secure and follow substantially gainful occupation by reason of service-connected disability shall be rated totally disabled. Period. Right? So it doesn't really matter what the number is. If you can't maintain, secure, and follow a substantially gainful occupation, right, then they'll give you 100% disability as unemployability. So therefore, rating boards should submit to the Director of Compensation and Pension Services for extra scheduler consideration all cases of veterans who are unable or unemployable by reason of service-connected disabilities, but who fail to meet the percentage standards set forth in paragraph A. Right? Well, they didn't do that with mine. They didn't send it to this frickin' board. So, right, that's pretty cut and dried. If you're 60% or more, you should get it. You shouldn't have any problem getting it. And if you're less than 60% and you can't maintain substantially gainful employment, which has a particular definition, right, then you should be able to get it through this extra scheduler consideration through the Director of Compensation and Pension Service. Pretty simple. Well, what would it take to convince them? Well, let's go look at that. This is out of the manual that has to do with how the VA determines this, right? It's M21-1MR, Part V, Subpart 2, Chapter 1, Section B. You can find this basically on the VA website. Just look for determining disability, unemployability, and marginal employment. And then it tells how they, make this determination, right? What's the definition of substantially gainful employment? Because that's the thing that if you can't secure that, well, then you're unemployable. Inability to secure and retain substantially gainful employment by reason of disability, as well as other factors. Well, what is substantially gainful employment? It's employment that is ordinarily followed by non-disabled to earn their livelihood. Well, then you can't secure it because you're disabled, right? This is only for non-disabled people. It's a definition that defines what non-disabled people can do, not disabled. So you can never be substantially gainful employed because it's only for non-disabled persons. So that was, that's a squeaky way of getting in. But it goes even further, right? In many instances, the veteran's unsupported statement will be enough evidence to establish unemployability if it's consistent with other facts of the case, such as good work record. So this is where you would want to, then to file a sworn statement form, your unsupported sworn statement, just yours. You don't need anything other than you don't need any other evidence than your statement. But it needs to be a sworn statement, I believe. They want you to use, I've seen where the VA has another statement form, but I'm saying, no, I want to put in a sworn statement. right? And then they're supposed to consider all these other things. Consider age, education, occupational background, related factors, so forth and so on. But, what's missing for us is we haven't put in a sworn statement. Once you put in a sworn statement, only a sworn statement can, top it. Somebody has to swear to their answer. It goes on to say a veteran whose sole employment consists of performing household duties may qualify as unemployable. Right? If you're just maintaining the house, you can claim unemployability. If the veteran is no longer able to perform principal household duties without substantial help. Right. Well, if you can't afford your house, you can't do the principal duties anymore. Right? So, I'm saying that having access to this sworn statement done properly by a county veteran service officer, a really powerful piece of paper. So, it's one of the things I plan on using. All right, hang on. And this is really important, too. They don't ever talk about this, but this is Title 50, United States Code, Section 4012, and it's part of the Service Members Relief Act, where it talks about this prima facie evidence. In any proceeding under this chapter, a certificate signed by the secretary concerned is prima facie evidence as to any of the following facts stated in the certificate. That the person named in is not, has been, or has not been in military service. Time and place the person's entered military service. The person's residence at the time of the person entered military service. Which is really important because no one will ever tell you what your residence is. They just, they want you to guess at what your residence address is. So you put something on a piece of paper, and if it isn't right, well, you put yourself in the wrong jurisdiction because you're the one who said that's your residence. That's how they play their game. Rank, branch, unit, military service, the person upon entry, the inclusive dates of the person's military service. Now, on the VA website for mine, they have my dates are incorrect. Right? You should check your DD-214 against the dates you have on the VA website if you ever went and registered to be on the VA website. You have to have done that, but they'll have your profile on there. And I didn't put those dates in, but on mine, they're wrong. Right? So I know that there's things wrong in these records, and I really want to get this certificate. Right? The monthly pay received, place of personal termination, so forth. The secretary concerned shall furnish a certificate under subsection A upon receipt of an application for such a certificate. A certificate appearing to be signed by the secretary concerned is prima facie evidence of its contents and of the signer's authority to issue it. So, this is coming from, in my case, the Secretary of the Army. Now, there's a lot of people who go to court, and they get in the court case, and they're acting like they're following the requirements of this act, which requires them to file an affidavit that they've checked to see what your status is. But this is the only document that can give prima facie evidence of what your status is, that they could say, based on this prima facie evidence, right, that you are or are not in service. Well, this also covers persons missing in a missing status. And this is my own theory that we're all in a missing status because I don't know any veteran that's ever gotten a discharge order, right? They got a DD-214, but that is not prima facie evidence of being released from the military. It's only, about active duty. And mine has so many errors on it that it really isn't anything except a document that says, that it's a DD-214 on it. So in title it is, but not in substance. And so, how do you take care of all these errors? Well, you have to get all your records. So this is how you, first of all, this is to establish the record of what is your status today with the military. Right? And so I believe every veteran wants to ask for this certificate. And the way to do it should be through the veteran service officer. And exactly how it's done, I don't know yet, but as soon as I find out, I'll do a video on it. But, this is what I want them to give me. I want this prima facie evidence because of the errors that I've already shown them. And I'll show you in a second what mine are. But, there's errors. Let's fix it. Okay, just real quick on a DD-214, since we're talking about it, right? They have the long form and the short form. I believe most people probably know this, but you were supposed to get copy 4 of the DD-214, which is a long form, when you left the military, right? But that's if this thing down here has been filled out, and in my case, it wasn't, right? So I never had a long form until come to find out that the people I got this from then is the state. I closed it down, right? The State Veterans Affairs Office got me a copy. And it's the service copy. It's where copy 2 went to, which is another long form that has all the information in it. And so this is down here is the stuff that's missing from the short, right? But like on mine, member unavailable for signature. Well, I never signed it. Right? That's what it's saying. Well, then I never got one corrected afterwards. And by the law, they're supposed to send me a corrected copy. Well, I never got it. Right? I never, it doesn't say I was transferred anywhere. And it doesn't say that, something about dental care. Right? Well, actually, dental care is part, there is no difference between medical and dental. I mean, medical covers dental too. So you can't be discharged until you have a complete medical examination, and that would include dental care. And it didn't happen, right? So that's just more evidence of the fact that I was never released from the military. Now, what you should do, though, is get a copy of the long form, and then find the separation authority and put this into Google, AR 635-200 in my case, and find the frickin' document that goes with it and do a little time reading it, and it'll tell you all sorts of interesting things. And then check the separation code, which in my case is JBK, right? And JBK, well, it goes to something, right? Separation Program Designator codes for active service separations. And on mine, JBK says completion of required active service, and then therefore, right? I had separation pay eligible, yes, and this 10% factor they use and so forth. Well, I never got any separation pay. And when I told the VA guy there, he says, well, you don't get separation pay when they put, so he doesn't know this, but there it is, right? Yeah, you get separation pay. And if you want to find this for yourself, this list, right, because it has all the different codes on it, right, you go over here. Hang on. Okay, you want to go to the military compensation website, which is militarypay.defense.gov, and go under pay. Right, there's pay, and then go under recoupment. And under recoupment, you'll see this SPD codes, right? And you click on that, and it comes out as this, it's like a spreadsheet type of thing, right? So I'm not going to do it again. It takes too long to download for me, but, right, that's how you get a copy. Right there, it's SPD codes. Well, that's the things that, tell you one more piece of information about your code that you have. And in my case, it says, hey, brother, you had separation pay code, which I never got, which again is just more evidence to me that I was never released from the military, right? I'm still in. And so the only way to find out for sure is to get those records under 50 USC 4012, 4012, from the Secretary of the Army, and he can figure out what my status is. But this document here is not prima facie evidence of my being released from the military. So, okay, I want to show real quick. So here's my 635-200 active duty enlisted separations. And Let me go to page 62 real quick. I'm trying to shorten this video up because I do talk too much sometimes, but hey, there's lots to tell people. I'm all about doing the information, right? So that somebody can't say later, well, where'd you get that from? I got it from, I got it from here. A soldier to be released from military control pursuant to some paragraph of administrative determination that he or she is not currently a soldier of the Army will not be discharged from the Army. The individual does not have any military status and will instead be released from the custody and control of the Army without being furnished a certificate of discharge. Right? You need to be released from the custody and control of the military for you to be out of the military. And until they've done that, well, you're not out of the military. And it goes on further, like separation of authority. Well, who can approve it, right? It takes a general court-martial, convening authority to get you out of the military. Well, in other words, you'd had to have been court-martialed. Well, that never happened. So, it's a big deal, right? That what's your status? Are you in the military or not? Because if you're still in the military, well, then you're protected by the UCMJ, right? You're basically the eyes and the ears in the districts for the commander-in-chief. If you see something you don't like or you see a problem, we should be going and doing a sworn statement and file it with the county veteran service officer and have it investigated. But I wanted to show specifically, where is it? Right, this is under effective date of discharge, right? That the annotated discharge certificate, discharge order, and copy of DD-214 reflecting effective date of discharge will be sent to the soldier at the address provided for that purpose. If the document is mailed to the soldier and returned unclaimed or undelivered, they will be destroyed. I never got mine, so that must be what happened. If they actually discharged me. But the annotated discharge order and copy of DD-214, further reflecting date of mailing to the soldier, will be included in the personnel file. The personnel file will be sent to the commander, U.S. Enlisted Records. So, that's the only way you can prove that I have been released from the military is for them to produce this order. Right? So you can hit. So that's the problem. Do you go fight them for this record, or is it just simpler to go directly to the secretary and say, give me the certificate of discharge under 50 U.S.C. 54012? Okay, here's another one to remember. This is 38 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, 1.576, General Policy, Conditions, Disclosure, Accounting for certain disclosures and definitions. The Department of Veterans Affairs will safeguard an individual against an invasion of personal privacy, except as otherwise provided by law. The regulation and its officials and employees will, right, this is what they will do, permit an individual to gain access to information pertaining to him or her in Department of Veterans Affairs records, to have a copy made of all or any portion thereof, and to correct or amend such records. Well, did you know how many records they have on you in the frickin' VA? Let's go take a look. All right, these are all the VA Privacy Act systems of records. You're going to want to write that down at Google. Privacy Act, VA Privacy Act System of Records. And you'll find this document, 25-page PDF, on the VA website that says these are all the different systems of records that they have, right? And so you would have to ask for these in order to get all your records. Now, they're not every one necessarily has anything to do with you, right? Because some are, within the organization, and some are about, all sorts of things, right? But the ones to do with you are going to be the ones that have your Social Security number in there. So you really, you do want them to look at every one of these files for a record that's tied to your Social Security number, right? Claim it for private relief. This system tracks the process of private relief bills, which are used for individuals who have suffered loss but have no recourse through the existing legal system at the time. Documents related to individual veterans, their beneficiaries, and dependents who are subject to a relief bill. Right? So some people have been able, apparently, to go to their congressman to get relief. I just pointed out, I think that's pretty interesting. You've got litigation files, patient medical records, right? The system contains consolidated health records for patients and includes identifying information. Well, that's good enough, right? Medical history, employment history, medical benefit, eligibility information, patient administration. You really want to look at those files. Copies of records of investigation concerning employee, patient, private citizens involving injuries, property damages, veterans and uniformed service personnel programs. This record system is used to administer statutory government life insurance programs for veterans, members of uniformed services, and so forth. Veteran benefit identification records in this system include identifying information, military discharge information, claim information related to veterans and their beneficiaries. This information, this is separation documents, DD 214, 215, filed by veterans release from active military service since March 1973. So that must be different than these records, right? Because this one didn't talk about a DD 214. Documents of this system concern appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals. So you get what I'm saying. I mean, they got all sorts of records. If you've put in some kind of appeal at some time and didn't like the answer, well, the whole freaking record is over here, right? If you want to see, what was said that you're not privy to, well, you can get the record and find the error and say, well, that isn't right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's, find the records first and then look at them and find the errors. Right? This system contains records relating to the administration of claims of veterans, service member reservists, their spouses, and dependents for a wide variety of federal veterans benefits. Service members. It's not just for veterans, right? But how does a service member differ from a veteran? And how is it that a service member, what benefits is a service member able to get under this federal Veterans Benefits Program? Inspector General, Department of Veterans Affairs, official correspondence, police badge and training. Did you know the VA had their own police department? That's something you should be able. That's who they should be able to give your complaint to. If you're complaining about something that's against the law, is to the VA police. We have our own federal police force. It's just how do you activate them? Well, you do it by making sure that the county veteran service officer is acting as the county and not as a fucking private organization out of Washington, D.C. Right? Related to collection of debts owed to the U.S. by individuals. Well, that would be good to know because, if you have just one little debt, they can put a lien against your property and they keep you from getting your freaking retirement. Which I'm telling you, we're all due retirement. Agent Orange Registry. I know there are a lot of people dealing with Agent Orange, What do they have on you in that record? Okay, so you can see this just goes on and on and on. I just have to database, VA health, right? All your health records are on there. Consolidate information gathered from all these different systems. Determination of eligibility for veterans benefits includes identifying information such as yada, 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 yada. And a lot of these records then are used between between your service branch and the VA, such as the DEERS program, which is the thing that gets the record to give you an ID card. And so there's just all sorts of things that if there's an error in any of them, well, you're not going to get whatever you were supposed to get because there's an error and you never had it fixed because they gave you an opportunity to fix it and you didn't. And so there's nobody, you know this in the military, there's nobody responsible for your records but yourself. They tell you that. So, okay, hang on again. And just one last thing real quick. If you download that this list from the VA website, then these links all work, and these links take you to things like, right, this is actually the Federal Register on what's inside of the record set, right? VA compensation, pension, education, vocation, rehabilitation, employment records, right? That set, and what's covered in it is in this regulation, or excuse me, the Federal Register. Which, if it's in the Federal Register, well, that's supposed to be the law, right? If you can get it to the Federal Register, there's the book. Okay, what else was there? Right, another one on veterans and beneficiaries identification records. Right, identifying information, military discharge information, date of death, VA claims, record location, cross-reference to beneficiary and veteran, and to other names used by the veteran, such as self. Right, somebody's going to act as you and be yourself and take your benefits from you. Identifying information may include the following: full name, social security number, service number, date of birth, entry or release from active duty, character of service, branch of service, military discharge information, on and on and on. The dollar amount of readjustment or service or severance pay, number of non-pay days, pay grade, narrative reason for separation, information on whether the veteran was discharged with a disability. Goes on and on and on and on and on. So, okay, so we're just about done, but please stick with me because, all this is really good information to know if you're a veteran, right? And maybe no one's ever told you before. So, one of the things is, as a veteran, we should have a DOD ID card, right? Now, the VA says they got a card for you, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a DOD ID card that shows that you're still a member of the military, right? Or if you're a former member, well, then it says you're a former member of the military. But this is a supplemental guide for the DOD ID cards, right from the Department of Defense, from DHRA, Identity and Policy Office. And, just out here where it lists all the different kinds of cards, right? You got active duty members, the Uniformed Services, National Guard, former members of the Uniformed Services, and retired members. Well, if you're not active duty, you're not National Guard, and you're not retired, but you were in, you must be a former member. Well, then they have a frickin', they have a card for you. Let's see where it is. All right, former member. Hey, there's that self. He showed up again, right? You should get a DD Form 2, Reserve Retired, or a DD Form 2765. Right, for former members. And the reason for that is, right, that you're still in the military. Now, this is Title 10, United States Code 246. The militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males, at least 17 years of age, and except as provided in some other section, under 45 years of age. So, 17 to 45, you're in the military. And I mean, it could be on longer than 45, but at least that long. So it's like, even if you're not on active duty, well, then you went back to the militia. Well, how about, just as you're serving, right? That under Section 506 of Title 10, United States Code 506, regular components, extension of enlistment during war, and enlistment in regular Army, regular Navy, regular Air Force, regular Marine Corps, and regular Coast Guard, in effect at the beginning of the war or entered into during the war, unless sooner terminated by the President, continues in effect until 6 months after the termination of that war. So, like for myself, now when I went in, we were in the Cold War. Now people say, well, that wasn't a war, but you know what? The Department of Defense, they gave a certificate for it, for the 40-year period of the Cold War. So yeah, it was a war. Everything's a war. Lowercase w war is any kind of armed conflict, and the United States is always at war. So because of that, and because of this, they never have to let you out until 6 months after the termination of that war. And, well, I don't believe it's ever happened. Right? So this is why I'm saying we're still in the military. Should have an ID card. Should be recognized, but because we're not, well, what does that mean? Are we like we're lost beyond the sea? We're missing still? Well, the only way to find out is get your records. Okay, then in Title 38, United States Code, Section 503, Administrative Error, Equitable Relief. If the Secretary determines that benefits administered by the Department have not been provided by reason of administrative error on the part of the federal government or any of its employees, the Secretary may provide such relief on account of such error as the Secretary determines equitable, including the payment of monies to any and all persons who the Secretary determines is equitably entitled to such monies. Well, that's what I'm going to say. They made an error because they didn't send my paperwork, even though I'm not 60%. They didn't send it through this under 38 CFR 4.16, to have an extra scheduler evaluation done. And now that I know that they can take a sworn statement, well, I'm going to put a sworn statement in and say that I'm unemployable. Right? And it's your unsupported sworn statement is supposed to be all it takes. Right? Or it says unsupported statement, but it needs to be a sworn statement, I believe. And that's the point, is we're not putting in sworn statements. We're just putting in hearsay evidence. A couple other places to look at what's going on, right? As an enlistee, right? Notice here that they're going to put your name last, first, middle, right? Last, comma, first, comma, middle, comma. Now, when they put my name, they put Reluski, comma, Robert Allen. There's no comma between Robert and Allen, so there's not in the first and the middle. It's just a first. Two-part name. Well, what I wanted to show you on this was that you get to the second page, right? We got all these, fine print stuff. Military service obligations, service on active duty, a stop loss, yada, yada, yada. And then you can see there's 10 U.S.C. 506 being mentioned. So you sign an agreement when you sign this for to allow them to keep you past your date. And whether they told you or not that they did is, they're going to say they did. You just never got the mail. Yeah, we told you. We sent it to the whatever address it was. Here's the form I want to show you. This is DD Form 1966. I believe this is actually filled out by the recruiter when you go in. It's got all this information here. But the same thing. Last, first, middle name. Right? No initials, but it would be Ritluski, comma, Robert, comma, Allen, if I had a middle name. But that isn't how they have it. They have Ritluski, comma, Robert A. That's what's on my DD 214. Or I mean Robert Allen, right? Ritluski, comma, Robert Allen. So there's not a middle name. Therefore, I should never have a middle name, never have a middle initial in my name. But you can see here they're already starting to use it. There's the middle initial. But they actually get you to certify that you have a middle initial name, right? And they do that right here, certification of applicant. That I certify the information given by me. This document is true, complete, correct. And they're going to put your middle initial name in and have you sign to it. Get a certification of witness. Then there's one other place that they get a certification. A statement of the name for official military records. If the name preferred enlistment name, if the preferred enlistment name given in item 2, is not the same as your birth certificate, and it has not been changed by legal procedure prescribed by law, and is the same as on your Social Security record, complete the following. right? So the way your name shows in your birth record is, Robert Allen Retluski. The way it showed on my Social Security card at the time was Robert A. Retluski. Right? Now, I don't know if that's the way they filled it out, but what they put in block 2 is they put my name, Retluski, comma, Robert Allen. So, I have no idea how this form was done when I went in. Right? This is something done when you first go in, but you can see how they're going to take over your name if you're not careful by a name change. Oh, okay, just one last thing real quick. Right? This is, anybody can look this up. If you put in military retirement fund, you'll find this audit, right? This is the 2020. Apparently they do it every couple of years, right? That has all this information about the military retirement fund in it. And what it says is that during 2020, the fund received $28 billion in normal cost payments, $100 billion payments from the U.S. Treasury, consisting of both amortization and concurrent receipt payment, and it earned approximately $22 billion, right? And then it paid out $62 billion. So it took in $144. It only paid out $62. Well, where's the rest of the money? Well, it's in the fund. Right? And that's what this is about is, well, what's the fund all about? And, what's it cover? It's got non-disability retirement. It's got disability retirement. Now, did you know, I want to stop now before I forget to tell you this. If you retire from the military, right, 20 years or more, right, and you have a 60% or higher disability from the VA, right, you should be able to get unemployability also. Or as I'm just showing you now, we'll write this sworn statement and get it. But you can have both. That's my point. You can have not only one or the other. So if you, by the same token then, if you're rated right now as a veteran at 30% or higher, and they never let you out of the military for whatever reason, because we don't have a discharge order, we should be able to retire if you got a 30% or higher rating and collect them both. What was this? Reserve retirement? Survivor benefits? There was something they did, temporary early retirement, that they do with, let's see, the VA provides compensation for service-connected and certain non-service-connected disabilities. These VA benefits can be in place of or in combination with the DoD retirement pay. But through December 31st, 2003, we're not fully additive. Well, we're way past 2003, and they are additive now. And you can have it in place of or in combination, and well, you want them both. If you can get them both, take them both. Military retirees may qualify separately for civil service. Yeah, okay. Okay, then this right here, Social Security benefits. What they did is under the old age survivor disability insurance program, right, that for the time you were in the military, they were kicking in $100 a month into your Social Security account. Well, again, if you never got out, well, then your whole time that you were in, they were putting in $100 a month into your Social Security account. This is above and beyond, what would have been put in there anyways. This is an extra $100 kicker. $100, and then depending on the time in the system they were in at the time, right, how they're calling it, but it ends up being $1,200 a year, one way or the other. So that's $100 a month. Right, so that's an additional amount on top of what you should get already for Social Security. And members of the military are also required to pay hospital insurance pay, with federal government contributing the matching employer contribution. Medicare eligibility occurs at 65 or earlier if the employee is disabled. right? Military members of the military who are also required to pay a hospital insurance payroll tax with the federal government. So that means, that you are, if you served, then you're eligible for Medicare. You said, in fact, told me last week that now under TRICARE or whatever, they want them to start paying some of their costs. And you always believe that if you served till you retired, you were supposed to get medical for free for the rest of your life. So I got to talk to him about that. Okay, hey, we're just about done, but I want to cover one thing real quick, and then we'll be out of here. Okay, so, back to the beginning. This document right here. Please go find yours, vet, if you can, right, and look at it and see what is wrong, right? Because, I specifically told the guy, you're not putting a middle initial in mine, and so he put Robert Allen, right? But he was going to make it Robert A. Rutluski. So I know that's what your name is in. There, that's probably how they did everybody's. And they didn't put the country, right? There's no United States underneath here. That's a big deal, right? That if it's not there, you're not in the United States. You're not in a country. Right? That may be your residence address, right? You got to have United States to make it a residence address. Otherwise, it's just a mailing address. But this section here, when they did this, somebody else is going to become you, right? The lowercase v veteran. Hang on a second. So what you need to do is ask whoever you filled this out with. This again assuming that you've done this, right? And everybody has done this, but if you're a veteran and you've used a veteran service officer, then you have done this. You want to see a copy of what it is that you did, right? Because you're going to give in this case, the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, which isn't the proper name of the entity approved by the VA, right? That's, again, right here. Comma Inc. is the one that's approved. This is not Comma Inc., so this isn't them. But now this, if I had signed this entity here would have had the authority to change my frickin' address. Right? Because I checked the box. An official representative, the organization named at 15. So, and all of a sudden my mail would be going someplace else, and I'd get somebody else's mail, like Mr. Middle Initial, right? Any mail I get from the VA is in my middle initial name, but on the VA website, my name has, actually it's got two middle names in it, or two names. Allen has Allen twice, right? Robert, lowercase Allen, uppercase Allen Rutluski. Now, I used to say Robert A. Rutluski, and I complained about it. And they said, well, you got to contact Deers to change information on there, da-da-da-da. I hadn't done any of this. But there it is, the middle initial name. So I wanted to change. So I went through all the troubles of doing it. And this is what they gave me. Robert Allen, lowercase a, Allen Rutluski. Well, obviously that's not right. But neither was my birth date, which is the other thing I complained about, right? It's got my birth date as September 1st, 1958. My birthday September 5th. It's not right. And then you get down here and period of service. I had a break in service for a year, right? The ending dates are not the same as the dates that are on my DD-214s. So this record that I'm looking at really isn't my record. Right? That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, this isn't me. Doesn't have my name, doesn't have my birthday, doesn't have my service record. Me and some other guy named Robert Allen and Allen Rutluski have a lot in common, but, we're not the same person. So all these jots and tittles, this is where the devil is. The devil's in the details, right? We got to get the jots and tittles figured out. And I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm working up a plan what I'm going to do with the VA this week and see what I can do to get them to agree with me. But